Hi, thank you for showing your interest in Oregon Flash. My name is John, and I'm the director at Flash. When Flash started 7, 8 years ago, we wanted to create a program that was about teaching. We poured into the kids. The program grew, and we were tremendously successful. Today, Flash is one of the biggest club programs in the state. But along the way, I knew that there was more that we could give to the kids. We just became like every other AAU team, but I felt like, hey, we need to figure out a way to provide more for the kids in the way of instruction, for them to improve. And so I've struggled with this, what that means for the last few years. And today, Edward is here, and he's part of what we want to bring as the next phase of Flash. But we wanted to tell you about, what that change might be and how that might benefit your child who's choosing to join the Flash basketball family. Okay, so Edward, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us what's wrong with basketball.
I'll start by introducing myself, I guess, and then I'll get to that part. I've been fortunate enough to never really have a real job. My entire career, I've either taught or coached basketball players or coaches or teams or both all over the world. I've been very fortunate to do so. And one of the biggest spaces in basketball, there's training and there's player development, coach development, leadership development, all these things that can be done and that I do. But one of the bigger spaces in basketball is AAU basketball that I've always stayed away from for lots of reasons, some of which we'll get into here. And it's kind of interesting, that's where John and I met, is through a mutual friend. And John came to me and said, hey, I have this club that's doing great, but I don't feel I'm really serving to my heart and to the intent of which I want to serve. But I'm not really sure how to make the switch, and do I even want to make the switch? So I shared with him some of the things I think are wrong with AAU basketball, and here we are. So what are those things that are wrong with AAU basketball? Well, first of all, it is a huge taker of your most valuable resources as a player or as a parent of a player, your time. It's a huge spend of time, and it's a very small investment of time. An investment is something you do and you get something back from. Most players and parents do not get anything back from AAU basketball but frustration and regret. It's a lot of time spent, and it's not a lot of time spent building up the potential. So I told John there was no way I'd be a part of anything that was what I call playing the wrong scoreboard, trying to win games that don't matter, all the while losing time on the potential of a player that does matter. And he thought about it for 4 seconds and said, I'm in, let's make the switch. So here we are. So what does that look like, right? Like, what does that look like? Well, the first thing is we want to have basketball teachers, not coaches. Yes, they will coach your son and daughter, but we want them to really be able to teach them how to play the game, think the game, learn the game, make decisions, have good mistake response, which is what basketball is, a game of errors. And one of the ways AAU strays from that is players are not allowed to make mistakes. If you think about a high school player, they play in their season and then they go right to another season, the AAU season. So it always counts. And if it always counts, you're not getting better, right? You guys, parents, players, you wouldn't let your son or daughter just continually take a test without studying to change their grade. Well, that's what we're doing with basketball. They're continually taking the test and playing in games. So what we're aiming to do is have them still take the test, but study more with more practices, more skill development, so they can actually gain on their potential. So when they go into a game, they're actually doing different things, learning different ways. And moreover, when they make mistakes in a game, we want to keep them in that position to continue to learn from the mistake versus taking them out trying to win a game that doesn't matter. Because you can win games and really lose, and you can lose games on the scoreboard but yet really win. And that's where our focus with Flash is going to be, is what is best for your son and daughter. John and I have a kind of a guiding light that every decision we make, if we can't really decide on what to do, it always comes back to, well, what's best for our players? And then that's the answer. That's how we decide on something that maybe we're having a struggle with, is, well, what would be best for our players? And that's what we're going to do. So I couldn't be more happy to be a part of this, because I believe it's what's needed. I believe it should be the only thing that is needed in this space for amateur basketball. Players that want to play in college, and you may be thinking, well, what about my son or daughter going off to college to play? The reason your son or daughter has not played in college is not because they're a AAU team. It's because of their game. And most people won't tell you that, but that's the truth. And we're here to help them get to their potential. If that's to play in college, if that's not to even make their high school team, so be it. But we're here to do that. So John, that's a long-winded answer of what's wrong with basketball, but what we're going to do to try to fix it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would agree with what you're saying because they've experienced it like firsthand. But can you speak to how do you think Flash will address the issues that you're talking about? You know, like maybe how coaching.
Yeah.
What are the expectations from players?
Yeah.
You know, how is it really different from what they can expect elsewhere?
Yeah. So I guess that kind of dovetails into what my role is going to be with Flash. First thing, it's going to be about our people. Make sure we have the right people in place to teach the game so they can coach the game right? You can't coach something you haven't taught. So we're going to have a curriculum. We're going to have some standards for that curriculum. We're going to have some concepts and principles that we always teach to. And everything we do is going to be decision-based, not result-based. Because decisions drive results. And, I've seen it all over the world. When you take a player and you ask him or her to do something, they do it right and get it wrong. They just freeze, like, I must have done something wrong. I didn't get it right. Well, we're going to celebrate that. We're going to celebrate the process of doing it right and getting it wrong so that they can eventually get it right and keep it right. So what that looks like for us is having a standard curriculum that we teach to, having concepts and principles that we always tie back and fall back to. Spending more of our time in practice developing what it takes to do well in games, not so much based on what plays we run, what out of bounds plays we run, because if we've taught basketball the correct way, you need very little plays to work well. Moreover, if you haven't taught basketball the correct way, you can't get enough plays. You can't have enough to make it work. So our focus, John, really now comes to that magic word now we're in what's called process, but that's what that is. Teaching first, learning, high premium on learning, high premium on decision making, and then letting the results be what they are going to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that's a lot that we're trying to accomplish, and certainly, it's like, people talk about the difficulty of turning a big old cruise ship, right? But I think that the direction that we take will ultimately dictate our destination. It's like everybody has the best intentions, when they build a basketball program. But I think for us, to your point, I think it is about helping our players reach their potential by helping them improve their game. And right. I think, so much of AAU has now become this, how much talent can we grab to form teams that'll make our Instagram look really, really good.
Right.
Right. And so I think we want to break away from that. And so, the message is that, Flash is not going to be perfect. There's going to be a lot of trial and error, right? As we embark on this, I think, very important mission. But we invite you to join us, right? And try to change this way that basketball, AAU basketball is being done. And I think there's going to be a lot of parental, kind of support that we need from this as well. Because again, if we're playing to a different scoreboard, but they're coming in, the car ride home is about how many points we score and all this result-based stuff, it's not going to work, right? So we need our Flash community to understand what this is about. And if we do that, I have no doubt that that we're going to be an organization that's about impact, right? To the individual, and then all of that the rest of it will take care of itself. So with that, I just want to say thank you for watching the video. And spring, summer season tryouts are being posted on our website. We hope that you look into it, come try out, and we hope that at some point we have you as part of our Flash basketball family. So thank you.